Welcome to this episode of Athletic Training Chat. This is another episode that we shot down at Mueller, and this is more of a how-to tutorial. Anytime we go down to Mueller, we have to hang out with Richard Avis. If you haven't met him, we highly recommend that you get in touch with him at some point, whether it's at a convention or any way you can, because he's always thinking up and scheming something new for athletes and athletic trainers to use. So here he gives us a demonstration of the Recoil tape. It's one that we still haven't quite figured out how to use it to its best at our own, but something that can be really useful, and as he so eloquently refers to it as the duct tape of the athletic training world, and we tend to agree with him with that. So obviously we thank Mueller for helping power this podcast. But with this, check out how to use Recoil with Richard Avis. So we're down here at Mueller Sports Medicine with Richard Avis, who has been on the podcast before. We'll link up to that, and Austin as his demonstratee, just hanging out there. If you are listening to this on audio, we highly recommend you go and check out the video, because we are going to be looking at a lot of the different applications of Recoil. The newest tape, I guess would be the best way to say it, from Mueller, where even for us, we've still tried to figure out when it's most useful. We actually had to use it with a basketball guy the other day. He was very picky about his thumb being taped, and we were like, this is a great time to use the Recoil. Ended up really liking it. Yeah. Easy to reapply. Just had to make sure we didn't cut off circulation, and once we got that done, we were good. So with that, I'll turn it over to Richard.
Appreciate it. That's actually a good segue into this product. As Joel was just saying, Recoil was introduced. It's been in the market about 2 years now. But I wanted to do kind of a refresher primer on the product today, because I continue to get a lot of feedback from the trenches, ATs, regarding they're not being completely sure about how best to utilize the product, what the product's all about, because the Recoil is so different from anything else that is in the marketplace. It's a truly unique product, and it's only available through Mueller. So today what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about what the product is, what it isn't, and provide some examples of how you can use the product. Essentially, the story behind the Recoil is you could almost call it the untape. It is truly unique. It's not a cloth tape. It's not a rigid tape. It is an elastic cohesive, but it's not a non-woven like a lot of the other stretch tapes in the market. It's not a textile-based elastic tape, as is common in the marketplace. This is actually a viscoelastic polymer. It's a highly elastic plastic with a cohesive layer. So you could think of it almost as an exercise band that sticks to itself. In a nutshell, this product will allow you to do things with tape that you can't do with any other kind of tape. And what I like to tell ATs is that as far as how you can use it, it's limited to your imagination, basically. Sometimes an AT will just ask me, well, could I use it for this? And the answer is basically yes, nearly every time. Recoil was not developed to replace anything that's already in the marketplace. This is a product that will prove highly valuable as a standalone in scenarios where other types of tapes won't function as well as this. But another great thing about the Recoil is that you can use it to augment traditional approaches and applications to taping. You're going to have special need athletes where the conventional approach to, say, strapping an ankle is not quite enough. If you're working football, Recoil is a product that might save you the need of having to tape a player's ankle 2 or 3 or more times during the course of a game. And I'll speak a little bit to that. But so the Recoil comes in 1 inch, 1.5 inch, and 3.5 inch rolls. I've got the 1 inch here, and then the real wide roll in the 3.5 inch. We'll start basically at the ankle, and then I'm going to work up to the knee. We'll go through the lower leg onto the knee, and then talk a little bit about how you might be able to use it for some hand, wrist, elbow applications. The Recoil is a product that every AT should have in their kit because of its versatility. I kind of refer to it as the duct tape of the AT taping world, because again, you can do so many things with this product that you can't do with other things. And I would say the majority of ATs that are really embracing the product have come to the point where they wouldn't go on the road or cover an event without having at least 1 roll of each width in their kits. So if you're curious about the product and you haven't had a roll of it in your hands yet, contact your Mueller regional rep, and we'll get you a sampler of all 3 widths. And real quick note on that, because it'll come to you in a tube that is actually fairly lengthy. This is a great tube to keep to protect and keep the rolls organized. It might be a little too long to fit in one of your kits or your primary kit, but I just wanted to mention that it's real easy just to cut down and around, and you can trim the length of the tube to fit a kit so that you can always have that product with you. Just a small thing there. So talking about applications, advantages of the Recoil when you're on the road, for example. There may be times when you've forgotten something, or you have an athlete that develops a need, a new need, and you need to address it quickly. That would be an application for Recoil. And a good case in point might be the bottom of the foot, where you could have an athlete that has arch issues, plantar fascia issues, etc. Well, yeah, you could go through the process of putting a low dye on there, which is going to take time. It's labor intensive, and it may or may not work for the athlete. The 3.5 inch Recoil is oftentimes a perfect way to address these needs because it's quick. The product is paper thin, literally paper thin, and you can regulate the amount of tension. The elasticity, the elongation properties of Recoil are multiple times greater than your cloth-based, textile-based elastic tapes. Another great thing about the Recoil is that it doesn't fatigue like textile-based tapes do. Most of the textile-based elastic tapes in the marketplace, when you put them under a load, an extended, drawn load, in a relatively short period of time, they're going to fatigue. The elastic yarns in that product, basically, they're going to lose their capacity to maintain the tension. Not an issue with the Recoil. This product will have the same amount of elasticity when you take it off as it did when you put it on. It's amazing in that regard. So I like to cut the 3.5 inch. The 2 inch and the 1 inch are actually products that you don't tear in a conventional way. You can basically just pull the tape apart. If you try to tear the tape as you would, say, a cloth tape, you're going to get this. So just keep in mind that what you want to do is you can literally just pull the tape apart. The 3.5 inch is a little bit more of a challenge to pull apart, so I like to cut that. And how I might go about addressing an unforeseen need to an arch for an athlete might be to take the 3.5 inch. I'm going to kind of eyeball this regarding the length that I would want to have for this application. And all I'm going to do is put a base layer of tape wrap down, cohesive tape wrap. It is a 2-part system here, this approach, but you don't have to have the base wrap. You can use the Recoil solo. I'm using it here because I can anchor this in place just like this. Now what I can do is actually draw up as needed the product up and over the foot like so and around. Okay, so that took about 10 seconds. It's a single layer of paper thin product that is not going to bulk up an athlete's footwear. It's going to provide a lot more support. The product is essentially waterproof. You can actually put it on underwater. And the amount of support it offers is tremendous. So I'm sure you can feel the amount, and I really didn't crank on it. I mean, if I wanted to, I could have brought that way up and really brought that down. So that's one example of an application. So let's say you've got an athlete where you're taping their ankle, but they haven't they've got a really sloppy ankle, a significant amount of chronic ankle instability where they're really loosey-goosey here. In addition to your approach to taping the ankle, if you take the 1.5 inch recoil, keep your foot locked it right in here, and put it under the heel like so, I can bring it up and around. Now what I'm doing is really isolating and drawing in the calcaneus and the talus there. This is another one that you really, I'm sure you can feel that again. Took about 5 seconds, used about a foot of the product, and the advantage offered by taking this extra step for this given athlete could be hugely significant. Another approach, if you've got some deltoid issues, you can even take the 1 inch. What I would do is go around once, and then here again you can really regulate the amount of tension that you want to put there with that. You see how easily it tears, seats upon itself. This will remain in place as it is until you take it off. That's another great advantage, is that versus textile-based tapes, the recoil has less of a tendency to want to, on occasion, come unseated or fall away from itself. So a couple of applications here. If you're an AT that happens to utilize a mulligan approach to ankles, or various derivations of a mulligan approach, this is a great product to use for that as well. So what I would do here is bring it up again here, So what I'm going to do is anchor 2 inches under zero tension. Okay. Once I've got that anchor down, I can come around and you can see the tension, you can feel the tension, right? Really wanting to bring that ankle around this way. Let it relax, put that second anchor down, and bang. Derivations of this. I mean, let's say you have an athlete that I mentioned a tendency for football ATs to have to repeat ankle taping for certain athletes multiple times during the course of the game. As we all know, pretty much every football team is going to have at least one or two guys whose ankles anatomically, for some reason, are just a nightmare to try and tape. Some guys are a dream. Some guys, for whatever reason, are almost impossible to really put down the perfect figure eights or heel locks that you'd like to have. No issues with the Recoil. With the Recoil, you can accommodate any shape ankle, because the capacity for this tape to basically go wherever you want it to go is amazing. With the more rigid cloth tapes, you have to let the tape dictate where you go with it many times. Not here with the Recoil. So I've thrown a couple figure eights down here on this ankle and heel locks. Again, soccer athletes who hate having their footwear bulked up, or athletes that you might otherwise have to spend a great deal of time behind the bench readdressing their ankle taping in a football situation. You can get the support you need much quicker and in a more convenient fashion, and there's also going to be a lot less bulk because this product is about 3 times thinner than a lot of the elastic cloth tapes in the market. Now, I'm not going to do it here in this case, but I have an example here that I can speak to a little bit regarding how you might use it for an Achilles scenario. What I would do here is put base layers of a tape wrap, a cohesive tape wrap down, then take the 3.5 and measure a length. Right? Then I would cut that to length. Once you get comfortable with the tape, you can get to the point where you'll just pull it. But you have to develop a little bit of a feel before you get to that point. But ultimately what you're going to do is kind of take a traditional approach to supporting an Achilles. But the advantage here with the Recoil, again, you can really get an idea of the difference in the amount of tensioning that you can accomplish here with this product versus the traditional approach using a cloth-based adhesive tape. Now, what I've done with that 3.5 inch also is I've taken the outside edges and folded them in underneath upon themselves. So normally that 3.5 inch would be about this wide, but what I've done is I brought the outer thirds underneath and attached those to itself on the underside, which is going to enhance the support there that much more. Then what you want to do is put one more layer of tape wrap or a heavier tape like a P-tape over the top to hold that in place. So that's an example of using it for an Achilles scenario. You're on the road again. You have an athlete that has compartmental issues, shin splints. Well, the recoil can be as simple a matter as, let's slide out here just a smidge. All right, so here, depending on the directionality that you want, now that I've gone around one time and fixed it upon itself under just a small amount of tension, I could be going clockwise or counterclockwise. But now that I've got it seated upon itself, I can really draw down upon that if I want. So you can really regulate the amount of tension needed there. It can be an amazing quick fix for an athlete. Patellar tendon issues, jumper's knee, or if you've got a youngster with Osgood Schlatters, you can simply take the 1.5 inch and stand up on this real quick for me, Austin. So in a pinch, I need a jumper's knee strap. Bang. Iliotibial band issues. You could use the 1.5 or the 3.5. Bring this up just a little bit. You've got some guns, man.
Trying.
All that working out he's been trying to get into.
Bang. Instant ITB support. Maybe not the perfect scenario in that you might have a dedicated brace that would really be the way to go. But if you're on the road and you're in a pinch, this is just another example of how valuable this product can be. So go ahead and jump down. Now, where the wrist is concerned, this product is getting rave reviews from aquatic athletes, divers, swimmers, and water polo athletes for the wrists. It's very easy for athletes actually to tape their own wrists using this product because, again, versus conventional tapes or even traditional elastic tapes, the athlete can, for themselves, they can regulate. It's such an intuitive product that after you use it once or twice, you really get a feel for what you want as far as support. And again, because it's waterproof, if you're an aquatic athlete, this is going to be a great product for that. Epicondylitis issues, medial, lateral. Again, what I would probably go with here might be the 3.5 inch, but as with the other applications, it can be a relatively simple approach to basically just wrapping the arm like so for addressing an epicondylitis issue in an athlete. Some secondary but appreciated uses for the recoil. Baseball athletes have found that the recoil is an amazing product on bat handles, for example, as a grip item. Golfers like it because of the tactile portion of the tape, and we see golfers wrapping grips with it. I've had comments from ATs using the 3.5 inch as a belt for insulin pumps. We've had some great feedback there that the product works fantastic in that regard. Very secure. It moves with the body. It's not going anywhere. It locks it down. So you might give that a try. Basically, all of this just speaks to, again, the versatility of the product. If you think it might work for something, chances are it will. It's also great for addressing abrasions or lacerations if you've got a bleeder, for example, because of the amount of compression you can get with the product. Using the recoil over dressing will help control any tendency for too much bleeding to occur after you've taken care of an injury. So wrestling ATs like the recoil for that, because clashes of heads, we see a lot of lacerations along the hairlines. 3.5 inch, put a dressing on, bam, just once around. It sticks to the hair really well, doesn't really shift, and you get that good, comfortable compression, and you can send them back out onto the mat. So that's kind of a whirlwind tour of recoil. Like I said earlier, contact your Mueller rep to get a sample tube and give it a try. I think that you'll find it to be a very interesting product. Thanks.